Hey everybody, welcome back to your free TV. It is Monday, October 20th, 2025, and I'm so glad to be back with you here on a Monday. I hope you had a great weekend, enjoying anything but a No Kings rally. We'll be getting into that kind of big flop, but we've got another one that's kind of the big deal coming up on, of course, November 6th in DC with $300 million behind the whole operation. We'll get into it. But of course, I want to start with my disclaimer. This video is for entertainment purposes only. It is protected by the United States Constitution, protecting free speech, as well as the Sullivan Act and reporting. It is not intended to bully, harass anyone, never to incite violence, hatred, or lawlessness of any kind. It doesn't give legal, medical, or financial advice, and there are further disclaimers in the description below. So I'm so glad to be back with you here today on a Monday. Hope you got some rejuvenation time over the weekend. I always start by saying thank you. Thank you so much to the people who support this channel monthly. It's so fantastic. It allows me to understand how much time I can devote during the month. So appreciate you so much. And thanks so much to Kathy for the donation. So appreciated. And of course, the prayers, the news tips, all of it. You make it happen. And I do need and want to plug for my fantastic sponsor, c60evo.com/YAFTV. Use the code YAFTV for 10% off. Everything's in the description below, but this is the incredible ESS60 miracle molecule, the incredible product that is made in the best lab in the world in Houston, Texas. Incredible reactor that makes these fullerenes that then purifies them to the absolute purest you can get them. And what C60 Evo does for you is, for entertainment purposes only, because of the FDA still hasn't allowed freedom here for all the incredible supplements out there, but inflammation, okay, incredible. Everything to do with degenerative diseases, literally people using them from everything from neurological disorders to the big C, the turbo C, to the nervous system issues, all of it. Please check it out on the website, c60evo.com/YAFTV. Use the code YFTV for 10% off, and people who support the channel get 15% off with a different code and link sent to you. And these are the capsules which I love, and I'm allowed to give away two by a random sort of selection. And this is the beautiful serum, which I keep forgetting to mention lately, but this is the facial serum. It has something like 23 phytonutrients in it, all organic, incredible. And so check it out below, and I will probably talk about it again at the end of the video. Thanks for letting me plug. And so there's so much going on, and we're going to jump in here, try to keep this one a little calm today, put on the glasses, and we'll jump into the news because there is just so much going on. So I'm so excited to get into it with you. So, all right, we have the No Kings, largely a fail. Yeah, lots of people coming out here and there, but there was no major anything as far as there being any point to it. And that's because it's massively paid for with enormous amounts of NGO billionaire money. And that's why nobody has any heart or spirit in it, and it's why it is all bunk. And so when we look at who is funding it, we get Arabella Investments. Of course, Arabella is funding, Indivisible, funding everything. It funded everything back, Black Lives Matter, everything engineered around George Floyd. It's funding everything, okay? Arabella, $80 million into this, right? Ford Foundation, $51 million. Rockefeller Foundation, $50 million. Soros Foundation, $42 million. Tides Foundation, $42 million. Millions of dollars coming in from everywhere else, over $300 million, okay? And that's where you get, I think in New York City was where they had the big sign that was this giant long constitution that probably cost about $5,000 to make, trying to claim that they are the advocates of the Constitution. Completely lame, okay? Because obviously, as Trump said it best himself when he was on a plane and asked about the No Kings, he said, yeah, all I do is work my ASS off for this country. I'm not a king. And basically, yes. And so the people behind organizing it, or the Communists of America, Communist International, the DSA, Democratic Socialists of America, and it all goes on, right? So it almost feels like even now, like kind of beating a dead horse to talk about it because it's just so lame. But I will mention at least this one woman who was especially vile over the weekend. Lucy Martinez out of Nathan Hale Elementary School. She's a teacher there in Chicago, where she was basically, doing this whole thing about doing a thing about shooting herself in the neck to make fun of the assassination of Charlie Kirk. And that went kind of viral. And you saw the school taking down its website saying it's under construction. We don't hear anything disciplinary happening to her. And this kind of violent rhetoric was very commonly found and seen during all of these protests. And yet, luckily, no FFs at this point. And so we're praying for what goes on in DC because these are the ones who are seriously, um, virulent, shall we say, are the paid ones. Okay, and then you get a lot of people who are just left over from other protesting throughout the ages of their lives, coming out against this because they still can't deal with the fact that the whole country is behind President Trump making America great again, which is so fantastic, and so much is going on that is so great. And so I almost, I had 6 minutes in, like to put to that, but that's okay. We're gonna move on because it's really doesn't even hardly interest me, even though I know it's important. But as we go towards November 6th, and we know there's a lot going on gearing up to that in DC, we will be covering it because this is a massively funded international effort to try to create, again, some image. It's mostly an image, okay, against the populist MAGA movement, basically the country wanting to survive and really sick of the crime, really sick of the division, sick of all of it. And so here we go. So what we get here, massive things going on. We've got the cyber attack right on schedule after the World Economic Forum holding its cyber meeting. They do this proof of concept, right, that we see today and last night. The takedown of Amazon Web Services, right, their cloud computing that has massive amounts of contracts with our U.S. government and military, and we're gonna get into that. New things of trying to blame Russia for crazy stuff that I will get into here as well, and this kind of creeping thing that's happening around the massive gag order around the Charlie Kirk assassination by the judge that seems to be silencing. There's like silence, erupting around, right, as we're seeing this gag order seeming to be affecting people who are speaking out. So I will talk about this real quick, that we have an appeals court, very exciting, smacking down good old Judge Immergott, remember him, of the Inn of Courts and the Pilgrim Society, the Trump hater. The appeals court smacked down his attempt to stop the National Guard troops being deployed in Portland. And so that will be commencing soon because where we saw the real violence and the real action that happened around these No Kings rallies was really still around these ICE facilities where they are rounding up massive violent criminals. So that's really good news. And, Trump reminding us with his really excellent interview with Maria Bartiromo over the weekend, done last Thursday, but put out this Sunday, basically where he said, I am the chief law enforcement officer of the country as president of the United States under the executive, but I choose not to get involved and I let the courts decide. And of course, one of the hugest things that is not about him being the chief law enforcement officer is, of course, what's coming down soon with the tariffs. And immediately, or just subsequently, as the shutdown, the government shutdown, the Schumer shutdown, as they call it, keeps going on, this Supreme Court case around the tariffs is massive. And so I believe that's one of the huge reasons, besides all the other paying of everybody, to get this over with the shutdown, is that there is this need to have the Supreme Court meet over this tariff situation, because tariffs are what's saving the country, uh, literally. With $18 trillion invested and growing, Trump says by the end of the year, $20 trillion invested into the United States, something unheard of, never been done ever before, of course, in history, even if you compare it down to McKinley or you compare it to the amount of money. This is historic on every level. And so pretty amazing there. And so I want to go from there into, I think, should I use small things, or, nothing small. Okay, nothing is small. Because, as Trump has met with the Australia Prime Minister today at the White House, and we see him with Anthony Albanese, actually elected again, supposedly, this Prime Minister, but he is saying that he is working on a similar platform, and you can let me know in the comments below, Australians, basically saying that he's this Made in Australia initiative to try to get their supply chains, from production to finished product, happening back in Australia again. Very interesting there, but basically he's saying that that's what we're trying to do. And Trump says, "Oh, you're a great prime minister." And he says, "Hey, I'm going to use that in my ads in like 20 hours from now when I leave." But basically, what they did is a huge rare earths deal between Australia and the USA. Very important because, of course, the deadline with Xi and China and the tariffs, and the fight with the rare earths, and the shutdown of China against the USA to do with the magnets and rare earths, etc. Trump is making huge strides here with making this rare earths deal and critical key minerals with Australia, and also trying to do so with Brazil, and trying to do so, of course, with Argentina, and what's going on all through those other channels as well. So very interesting to watch as this goes down, because what we have here is Besson on his way to meet with the economic advisors out of Xi's regime there in China. He's literally heading over there now. And Trump actually, made the point on the Bartiromo interview that basically we've got, Nixon screwed over the USA by allowing China, into the U.S. market, and doing so, of course, right in the, after the destruction of the Lao Beijing, after the total destruction of the Chinese people, and that's what instigated what became the, 40 years late, of offshoring all of American manufacturing and our entire economy to China. So he was saying that basically to Xi, to give him the heads up that that's what we know, and we're coming in with this. And at the same time, you have with the CCP plenary in China, called the fourth plenary, because they hold them, 4 times a year. But what we have here with Xi in his third term, right before this plenary, we've been hearing these whispers, oh, did he have a stroke recently, a second stroke, all of this. But meanwhile, he seems to be popping up everywhere, looking fairly healthy. And so what we're seeing is right before this plenary, he purged 9 generals, okay, out of the PLA. And he is, and I think one of them was one of those generals going up against him, right, where they were trying to get him basically to step down. And having a third term is really huge, because not since since Mao Zedong, have you had a Chinese ruler there for so long. But what we're seeing here is him wanting to complete his global security initiative, connected intimately, of course, with the Belt and Road takeover of every country they go to, where they want this CCP global military to be able to reach they want the plan, okay, of the globalists, etc., with the planned demolition of the USA, was to bring in China as the global police, right? They were to replace America's global policing role with China, which is, U.S., in all of their disgusting things that were done under these globalist presidents, compared to what China would be doing, you know, it's times 10x, right? And so this is what's happening. The Global Security Initiative, we're seeing that he is not ready to let that go. But we also saw them really trying to put Xi on a leash. There is like this massive internal fighting going on right now in the CCP in China. So we'll be seeing, because it's coming up here in a few days, some pretty intense, massive things to do with the U.S. economy being able to wrangle China, right, to a deal that could benefit the USA and take China out of its adversarial role. And that's what we keep hearing behind the scenes, is what is wanted by the people who are going against Xi. And we also had Trump come out and say, what did you say? He also said that, that what we've got here with China is that he really wants to make a good deal. Okay, that he really wants to make a good deal with China. That he doesn't want there to be this massive, these massive tariffs to go forward. He's talking all this because the reason he's waited out so long here with China is that he needs them to come along, okay, to come along and rearrange towards peace with the USA. And that's a huge, huge order. It's a huge, massive, tall order when they have for decades now been super infiltrating everything, stealing everything from the US, reverse engineering it, stole all our manufacturing. So basically, he's saying, we're going to go back to an equal playing field, and we have other big fish to fry. Are you in or you out? And so we'll see what goes on. It's going to be a huge deal in the next couple of weeks, right? And so I think I might go from there to this very interesting, they just can't make it up kind of thing. Is we have now, they're saying that out of, let's see, we've got, well, it was Yvette Cooper out of the UK, the foreign minister. We have foreign minister's office. We get this new news about Russia, right? And this is just so fantastic, because we know that in the meeting with Zelensky before the weekend, there was massive raised voices, right? There was a lot of screaming and yelling going on there in this meeting, and that Trump basically is saying to Zelensky, you're going to take Putin's terms of peace. That's what's going to happen. And no tomahawks, none of this is going down. There's going to be this plan that's going to happen, and it's going to happen in Hungary, and we're going for peace, and kind of like it or lump it sort of thing. And right now, where do we get then a couple days later, as they're having huge, Euro meetup of the leaders this coming week, where we get out of the UK Foreign Minister's office and also the Home Secretary with Shabana Mahmood, of course, the old one was kicked out, even though she was a rising star, but she was a white British woman. And now we get Shabana Mahmood in there as the new Home Secretary, and she's saying, hey, I talked to the people in Bulgaria. We got a Balkan pipeline here going that Russia, did I say Russia? Russia is the reason, they are the cause, they are the motivating force behind, you just can't make it up, the immigration invasion, okay, of Muslims and sub-Saharan Africans into the UK and Europe. That Russia is behind it, okay? Right on cue. Quite amazing that they could actually do this and say this. It's unbelievable if it wasn't so ridiculous. And not that there isn't, of course, the Wagner Group and Russian agents and all of it, okay, that goes down when, of course, they're trafficking, agents and cells and this kind of thing, and it all is happening between all of these countries, including our own. But basically now that the planned destabilization of Europe by jihad is because of Putin, okay, and we've got Bulgaria says so, so now they know, And so that's now the new talking point here as we move forward here towards this peace conference that Trump will be attending in 10 days from now, and starting next week we get the meetup between all of them. And this is all happening while our Home Secretary there, Shabana Mahmood, in the UK, they've literally deported 36 people. They made this pact with France and Macron that they were going to stop the invasion and they were going to, um, get these people out. And out of 37,000 that have entered into the UK this year, they have deported 36, 36 whole people. And they're like, woo, high five. Amazing. Yeah. So, yeah, it kind of tells you all you need to know there. But meanwhile, we did have some pretty cool news, which is that Portugal has banned burqas, the wearing of the burqa, the mailbox outfit, with also niqabs, like the veil that covers the whole head and just has the eyes. They have banned that in Portugal. This is the CHEGA party, which is a right-wing party in Portugal. They have banned these and all religious face veils in Portugal, so that's a huge win and very exciting. Apparently, there's been efforts to do this all across multiple countries in Europe, Italy, I believe Sweden, and not sure. I have to look at where else, but they're trying to do this other places. But here in Portugal, they got it done. So fantastic. That's great, because we know we have this little problem of the future of jihad is female, right? As they try to do the red green alliance, and just think about in history in Africa how that has gone with utilizing females to be a part of the jihad. Well, what we've got here when we see, of course, Mamdani is up in the news because he put up the photo of him with Siraj Wahhaj, as if he cares what people think, because Siraj Wahhaj, the imam closely connected with the Islamic teist that was involved in the World Trade Center, BOMBING, back in the day there. Siraj Wahhaj, he is Linda Sarsour. If we remember, Linda Sarsour was kind of the early version of Mamdani there in New York out of Brooklyn. And they were pushing her hard. They thought she might be part of the squad. They might be able to get her elected. But it was too soon, right? It was like 7, 8 years ago now that she was really taking the scene heavy there in New York. They were pushing Linda Sarsour. I'm sure huge connections here with the Huma Abedin and Muslim Brotherhood, all of it. But Siraj Wahhaj was hugely her mentor as well. And so, yes, of course, super tight with Mamdani, because they're all super tight. Okay, we have a Muslim communist Indian who is pushing the Red-Green Alliance. And so funny to watch, Cuomo, the grandparent killer for entertainment purposes only, during the shots, right? That evil guy, nipple rings as they call him, he literally said this in an interview, right? He says, "When a person shows who they are to you, believe them." Like, oh God, what the heck is going on, New York, right? What the heck is going on? But yeah, we need to fight in New York because this is getting crazy. But it's been designed this way with a very weak Republican candidate. God bless Sliwa, but he doesn't have the juice. And not that I like him. I love seeing him on the debate without the beanie. But this has been set up, right? And we've got Sadiq Khan out of London, and we've got New York about to fall. And this is very, very serious, what's going on in New York. But all we can do is keep watching because it is being massively, massively funded. And so we're going to keep covering it as we get closer here towards the election. And so, but as we watch this and as we watch, what's going down here in our own DOJ, and, we've seen the indictments and they're starting to roll, and we're hoping for this avalanche, and it's coming along. We're seeing also very, very strange things going on where Tulsi Gabbard is really the hero here in our intelligence community. as the director of the office of the ODNI, right? The director of national intelligence. She's the chief intelligence officer in this country, and she is working overtime and doing incredible things, having to bypass the CIA with Ratcliffe, who is a total, you know, owned by Mossad, Israel, for entertainment purposes only, giving false information during the peace, deal with between Israel, Hamas, and the whole creation of the Board of Peace and all of this, signing this agreement. And basically, it came out during 60 Minutes on CBS, which is interesting that they put this up there, because they basically saw Netanyahu get thrown under the bus and our own CIA thrown under the bus, where we had Witkoff and Jared Kushner up there with Leslie Stahl on 60 Minutes over the weekend, basically saying the quiet part totally out loud, saying we were told fake intelligence. We were lied to by our own intelligence, basically saying CIA, Ratcliffe, Mossad, about what Hamas was and wasn't willing to do as we were trying to get this peace deal done, and that basically, they had to persevere and say, no, we're going to go ahead with these talks, and we'll find out what they're willing to do. Because now, what are we hearing today? Oh, Israel went in and poured tons of artillery into Gaza again, claiming that Hamas had, blown up IDF agents with an anti-tank missile, which turned out and has circulated the internet massively, that this was it was an undetonated missile of their own, that basically blew up planted, whatever, an FEFE. This is we don't get anything with the No Kings, but we get this, right? And so Netanyahu's now still pushing for another term. You can't make it up. But we're seeing here that this is, trying to interrupt the peace process, and also saying, no, we're still on board. We're still here with the ceasefire, but we must get those dead bodies of those hostages, right? As if that's an easy thing to do, and making that the point, because it is an impossible point. Okay, it's an impossible point, and yet that is the big deal here, while tens of thousands are murdered. And so Tulsi Gabbard is so important, so please pray for her. She is not only doing that, as she did right before the Iran attacks, saying that, no, our intelligence is absolutely that Iran does not have the capability right now. It's not happening. This is not true, etc. Trump went ahead and did it for his own reasons, which was to stave off Netanyahu from trying to force an invasion with Iran. So it is complex and multi-layered, but she is really the real deal, especially now while she's also going after Smartmatic. And this is happening as all of this Venezuela stuff is on fire here, and we're seeing this battle really between Tulsi Gabbard and the ODNI, battling a bit here with the festering evil that is still involved in our DOJ, and of course Todd Blanche being the big firewall here, the Lisa Monaco of Trump's DOJ, and where he is blocking things like Tina Peters getting released from prison, blocking her going into basically being released as a protected witness under all of the election steal investigations. And we're seeing now as Tulsi Gabbard is putting out huge stuff around Smartmatic, around Venezuela. Of course, that's where Smartmatic was started by the globalists out of the Pilgrim Society, created Smartmatic, put it in Venezuela, elected Chavez, destroyed the country of Venezuela, and then they came and did it here, right? And they've done it across the world, stealing multiple elections by the deep state funded by USAID, etc. But Tulsi Gabbard's going after Smartmatic, putting out the intel about them. And this is huge because, of course, they're trying to steal, Mike Lindell's MyPillow, his fantastic company that is actually owned by, in conjunction with him, his employees. It's co-owned, and just the destruction, right, is going down. But she is working hard to protect it, and also to help Tina Peters get her out of prison, where she is suffering greatly, and into being a protected witness under these election theft investigations, and which are all being blocked by Todd Blanche, where we saw that the Supreme Court refused to see a case out of Michigan. And we know out of Michigan, and this is coming out of Tulsi Gabbard, that, and we've known this for years, but she's finally getting to say it to the American people from her position of power, that is constantly threatened, that it was Venezuelans specifically who went to Detroit in Michigan, to the big center where they put up all the white, poster board on the windows to block anybody seeing what was going on, refused to have Republican viewers there, all of the crazy that we saw, which, Detroit was a massive steel situation. But one of the big things here was that there were Venezuelans who came to actually work directly as the people servicing the machines, helping people, who are operating them to operate them, right? To operate them correctly, meaning the steel that came out of it. So Tulsi Gabbard's doing just incredible work, and we just pray for her. As Trump said in this interview with Maria Bartiromo, he said, you know what, we're so close. In 12 months, 1 year from now, our economy will be safe. We will be safe. And it is just massive work here with $20 trillion coming in, the reshoring of our manufacturing, our economy, all of it, okay, defeating these evil globalists, this is my words, not his, who are just terrifying the crap out of us, stealing everything of us, the planned demolition, almost there. And he's saying in 1 year, if we keep going, we're going to be able to save this country. It will be safe. He said, but we need successive presidents. And I'm so glad he said this. We need, at least, 3 more terms. We need 3 more presidents. We need 3 terms of carrying this out if we are going to make America great again in a stable way that will last. And I'm so glad he said that, because I think it's just so fantastically important and true. And so who will it be? And I have to say, Tulsi Gabbard is a fantastic person who I would put in one of those presidential terms, because when it comes to consecutive doing the right thing, as opposed to many others, like Marco Rubio, who is, at the wailing wall, instead of in the negotiations, because Trump said, you're out. We've got Witkoff, and we've got, we've got, his son-in-law, right, Kushner. However, interesting out of Kushner, even in his exposition there on 60 Minutes, saying, we couldn't trust the intelligence that was coming to us. Very interesting. So I think I'm going to jump from there and move to this, which is, I wanted to mention real quick. Actually, no, I'll do that in a second. But I want to mention this thing with the Charlie Kirk gag order, about the case on Tyler Robinson. We get this gag order that was apparently done by the judge way back in mid-September, like on the 16th. Didn't get a lot of traction or news, but now we're seeing things like, Candace Owens hasn't put up a video in 10 days, at least on YouTube. That's where I usually watch her, where her most recent stuff always was. That people are being, I don't know if she was served a cease and desist order or what's going down, but there is some pretty major silence going on out there, where all of a sudden, the tamping down of the discussion, and this gag order being huge, something like 3,000 people included in this gag order, like anybody who's ever talked to Charlie Kirk, anybody who is his friend or works for TPUSA or anything. Okay, this is like unprecedented, to have such a massive spread of a gag order. Never been done. No, never. So obviously, there's some massive cover-up going on here to do with the FBI, to do with this case, and to do with what really happened. And so it is very disturbing to watch that we're being put through this, and to what happened. You know, we there was a video that came out 4 or 5 days ago about somebody in a, you know, wearing a, well, just their face all blacked out and with a voiceover, you know, saying all this kind of stuff about that you know, Erica Kirk is involved with Israel, et cetera, and just whatever. That nothing about that has been given much meat behind it, but it's very interesting that now it's gone super heavy. Okay, where the gag order is just this like silence now that's out there, and that the people who normally were talking since really last week have all shut up. And so something's going down. Something's going down, and I'm sure we're going to hear more about it, combined, you know, sort of soon, right? Okay, and so let's see. I wanted to talk a little bit more about this Amazon Web Services, you know, grid attack, just right on time from the World Economic Forum, saying we're doing tabletop, you know, exercise here. We, you know, with this threat of the cyber attack, and you know, again, they always do these little proof of concept events. And what do we see? Okay, in the midst of them having their World Economic Forum, Larry Fink led meeting, there is a massive, you know, pretty major Amazon Web Services attack. That, and of course, their cloud is super connected with our military, our federal government, and so this was everything to like Amazon Prime, the Ring system, the Ring security system. Everybody's got them, right? ChatGPT, Venmo, Alexa, Roblox, that super creepy pedo stronghold for grooming and stalking children, Snapchat, all of it going down. Okay, this is huge, and it's still only coming up slowly as at the time where I'm doing this video. So very interesting to see that they're like, yep, see, we can pull it off anytime we want. And the disruption that caused today, I'm sure, was massive. Tons of websites offline, just a really huge event. And so we're seeing this go down. And you know, I think it you know, kind of ties into, you know, a larger event that's coming. And we know the elections are coming up, just for some very poignant, important elections in this country, along tied in with the second No Kings November 6th DC thing. But we also have the New Jersey governor election, very important here with Chitterelli, who is really, I think, coming around the curve to win that election. So please get involved there in New Jersey. And if you're not in New Jersey, you still can be part of the phone call canvassing, this kind of thing, that we're really, it looks like Mikey Sherrill might be defeated. She has that kind of loss of, you know, her eyes are starting to lose the winner's look, you know, that she knows internally the internal polling is turning against her. And so New Jersey really could turn red, and that is better than the alternative. And we want it to happen. Absolutely 100%. So involvement in New Jersey, I think it's njaction.com, njaction.com, I think so. I'll link it again below. I did last week as well. And so, yeah, so this is all going down. And I wanted to mention there, of course, another, as all of this is happening, we hear that, oh, a couple things I forgot to say last week. One of them is that Pete Hegseth, you know, Secretary of War Hegseth, his plane almost went down last week. This was after he was leaving Brussels, okay, at one of his meetings with these NATO murderous European International crowd. he's flying out back to the US, and he has to land immediately in the UK because of a cracked windshield. Okay, cracked windshield on his US government plane, and they have to make him, you know, emergency land because there was not just the threat of a cracked windshield, which is deadly, but they lost massive power in the plane, huge depression in power, and they had to do an emergency landing. Okay, so that to me looks like an attempt on the life of Pete Hegseth. And so we get also found over the weekend this lovely hunting stand. They're calling it a hunting stand in Palm Beach because people near the Palm Beach airport, they're just regularly setting up their deer hunting stands next to the airport in the trees, right? Yeah, it's just like, yeah, oh, Secret Service, oh, we spotted this thing, might be a problem. And it literally is like a deer hunting stand. It's just, it's in the trees, a place set up to be laying in wait as a sniper right outside Palm Beach Airport where Trump lands, where Air Force One lands, massive, massive threat, and basically barely crickets about it. That he that the Secret Service says, oh yes, well, FBI is going to investigate immediately. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And the only reason it was exposed is because it's fall and the trees, the leaves are falling from the trees, okay, because of the time of year. Otherwise, it's been there this whole time. So very disturbing, very disturbing. They have Trump using the short stairs, right, the Biden stairs, because of security, so he can get in and out of Air Force One quickly. And yeah, so those are the real things happening behind the scenes of the threats versus this $300 million No Kings debacle just being a media event. Okay, and so let's see, what else do I want to get into? I might go into it tomorrow because we've got Trump meeting Xi in this South Korea meetup coming up very soon. There's a lot more to fill out there that I want to get into, but I think it's important maybe to just mention here on my way out, and I also want to get into a lot of other things as well tomorrow, to do with this weather weapons and directed energy weapons, what we're going through, the solar storms, and the threat that it's posing. But I will mention this today instead of tomorrow, which is I wanted to pray for this, what looks to me very much like a weather weapon event, this typhoon that happened in Kipnuk, Alaska. Okay, and you just have to wonder, they announced this huge road that's going to go and give these massive international corporations access to mine these rare earth minerals for America, right, in Alaska, and this huge gravel road they're building. And then suddenly, out of the blue, right, you get a typhoon in northern Alaska, typhoon. You don't really see typhoons up in cold areas, right? It's usually like, oh, Malaysia got hit with a typhoon. Like, it's always like Laos, it's like Asia, Southeast, it's south. Not up in Alaska do you get typhoons, okay? Typhoon. Siberia got hit with a typhoon. No, right? They got hit with a massive weather weapon with a huge, 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 massive, just flooding inundation of this area where the Inuit population massively destroyed. It's just wrecked, and they're saying, oh, you can't come back for 18 months. Okay, hundreds of people, airlifted out. Very, very disturbing, and we need to find out what's going on behind this. So if you have good news tips for that, please link it below, because and pray for these people, because this is not at all normal. It's not like, oh, this happens seasonally here. No. In the winter, and no. Okay, just no. So yeah, please give me your comments on that below. And yeah, the rest of it I'm going to get into. We've got major issues here with directed energy weapons, alongside all of this and the solar storms that I do want to cover tomorrow, and so I'll be back with that. But I do want to talk about one last thing to laugh at before I go here at 45 minutes, is that we have Beyond Meat, that awful, disgusting, just totally toxic, awful, awful, digestive system destroying, nervous system destroying substance that is Beyond Meat, for entertainment purposes only, is now $80 million in debt, right? This is Gates and Al Gore, who backed this company Beyond Meat. You eat it and it just totally is like cytotoxins. It totally just destroys you. its stock is down from $234. Okay, now it's worth 65 cents. It's $80 million in debt. I love it. So harmful for your health. And I love to watch them fail. Of course, you know, Gates has moved on to the lab grown meat and just the vats of cancer tumor cells that they're trying to feed you instead. And so much of it made in Israel and made now in the US as well. And just disgusting. So anywho's, we'll be covering more about that, of course. But a reminder, if you're planning the winter, and as we're waiting what's going on with the Charlie Kirk massive gag order where nobody can talk about the investigation anymore, AmFest is coming up. Just a reminder, you know, as a way to get together with people. If there's a giant gag order and you can't talk about the Charlie Kirk murder, well then, I don't know. Do you want to go? Do you not want to go? But it's in Phoenix, of course, December 18th to 21st. I know it takes a long time to plan these things. So, you know, 2 months out, you might want to just consider that, depending what happens here in the next few weeks, because some things need to happen. Okay, we need some answers, and what's going on here, you know, it's having the effect of causing divisions and silence, and anything that silences us is wrong and is the problem. Okay, it's not just go along as usual, just talk about Jesus and everything's good, we're good. You know, we're learning the Constitution, our kids want to have children, you know, again, and all of this. No. Okay, anything that causes massive silence, isolation, division, okay, in this movement amongst some of the top people who have large audiences or really do stick with truth, is extremely problematic. So, you know, let's pray for some divine intervention here on what's going down. And I think I will leave it there now at 47 minutes. And thanks for listening today. We're going to go deeper in with some things tomorrow, and it'll be a lot to talk about. But I'm so glad to be back with you here on a Monday. And if you feel like something in this video today gave you some added value, added information, please support the channel below. It's so important to me to keep this channel funded and moving along. And of course, my fantastic sponsor, C60evo.com, which is it's just so great. Okay, this product, it literally just, you'll feel, well, okay, possibly for entertainment purposes only, an increase of your mood lifting, clarity, focus, energy, better sleep, these kind of things. But then in the other department, perhaps less pain in your joints, perhaps less inflammation, as that cascade of inflammation that happens from all the toxins that we take into our bodies, to be able to carry them out from the mitochondria of the cells. Because cellular health is health. Okay, if your cells can properly clean out, especially on the mitochondrial level, really deep down in your neurons as well, then you can basically have great chance for longevity, but especially health in aging versus, you know, suffering in aging, plus defeating the depopulationists who want to make us sick, to make tons of money of us while we're sick, and then until we're dead. And so, yeah, c60evo.com/YAFTV, code YAFTV for 10% off, and people who support the channel get 20% off, excuse me, 15% off, sorry, I got ahead of myself there, 15% off with a different code and link sent to you. So thanks so much for watching today, you all, and I will see you tomorrow. You are free. Put on your armor, pray, pray, pray for guidance. Let's all do our part here and really, really work for the Prince of Peace as we sort out the globalists, okay, from the rest of humanity who just wants to be free of them, just wants to be free of them, right? Freedom. You are free. I'll see you tomorrow.